going right when I should have been going left. I was going up when I should have been going down. And him, just with this little chainsaw, he didn't bring a big one because he thought it was just a little problem. He didn't realize how big it was. But he brought a little chainsaw. 45 minutes we had it. Now, mind you, it was hours. But it took for me to take the time to pray and ask God for his assistance. Because as long as I was doing it my way, it wasn't working. But once I called upon the Lord, he gave me the resources that was needed.
Today, we're diving into a powerful thought from Reverend Brian Lawrence that's been making waves. Let's take a moment to reflect and grow together.
If I had a title today, my title would be, My Weed is the Best. I'm going to say it again. My weed is the best. Now, someone may be wondering where I'm going with this, and I'm going to tell you. I'm thinking exactly what you're thinking. I'm going to say it again. If you're wondering where I'm going exactly where your mind is. But now come back into church for me for a moment. There's a saying that many of us are familiar with. The grass is greener on the what? I'm going to say it again. The grass is greener on the what? Now, many people use that quote, that saying when things are not right in their life. You know, a lot of times we use this quote, and when we use it, we're going through some hard times. See, the thing I learned in the 3 years of doing my yard is that weeds don't need the same nutrients the grass needs. See, when you put the grass seed down, you got to be meticulous. You got to be thoughtful. You got to put it down and make sure the birds don't eat it. You got to make sure that you put enough water. You got to make sure that you got enough exposure to the soil when it comes to the seed. But a weed don't need that. Weed get into the soil. And when it get into the soil, guess what it does? It grows. It takes everything around it and it grab it. And it take the nutrients out of that, and before you know it, it's thriving. Sound like anything in your life? But if you are married and you are in a questionable situation, you'll say, that looks nice, whatever that is. In my spiritual imagination, I'll say a cup of coffee. If you go to Dunkin' Donuts, you might, like the Dunkin' Donuts coffee. If you go to Starbucks, you might like the Starbucks coffee. But maybe, that ain't your issue. Maybe you're not having some health issues. Maybe you're not having some financial issues. And let's not forget, maybe you just not having any issues. And if that's the case, then I got to tell you that there's a place down the road called Cooper. You might want to visit it because something's wrong. Because each person at some point in their life are going to have some issues. The question is, what do we do with the issues that we have? See, in our life, sometimes we're going to go through some things. We're going to have some situations that's going to cause some tears to come down our eyes. But I'm going to say this again to you. We're going to have some situations that's going to cause some tears to come down your eyes. But when those tears come down your eyes, you have to realize that is water that is needed for you to grow. That is water that is needed for you to grow. That is water that is needed for you to grow. That is water that is needed for you to grow. So when you're going through something and you find yourself crying, that is water that is needed for you to grow. Part of an inheritance is you got to get it on. You got to get it on. And in order for you to get something on paper, do you know why you get it on paper? It's so that it's binded. It's official. We go out and we make purchases, right? And when we make purchases, they asked us to use our credit card. If you use credit cards nowadays, everybody, with COVID, it's confusing, but we got the tap thing, but we still got to use the pen and sign for it. Confusing to me, but okay, cool. So you make the purchase and then they give you this slip. And what do they ask for? Why do they ask for your signature? You didn't pay. You swiped it. It's good. Why do they need your signature? It's to confirm the purchase. See, we have to validate this purchase. Who's to say that someone else didn't make this purchase? If you go to the word, I didn't make this up. All I did was read it. And if you look at it, God is telling you that your inheritance is for you. And ink fades away, right? You ever write on a receipt and then before you know it, you take it home and it's with that paper, it just faded. When God stamped on it, it's sealed and delivered. No matter what you do, no matter what the situation is, it's there. I'm going to ask anyone who is listening to me to grab this part. We all have cell phones. And when we have cell phones, a lot of times, if you're like me, they die. And if they die, you find yourself with no cell phone. And the people you want to contact, you can't contact. So you borrow somebody's cord, you plug it in, you try to grab access, right? You try to grab access to the power. And if they got some type of cord, it takes 20 minutes for your phone to cut on. But if they got the right kind of cord, it takes 30 seconds, phone back on. I'm the only person ever had that happen. Now work with me. They got the same cord, looks like the same cord, seems like the same cord, but this cord takes 30 minutes, this cord takes 30 seconds. Why is that? It's the way it's designed. I'm going to say it again. It's the way it's designed. On the outside, it all looks the same. On the outside, it all seems the same. But the thing on the inside, the wires on the inside are different. So when you plug into it, one responds different than the other. Why are you not plugging in to God? Now, in some of our lives, we're going through some things. And we got some things that we already put on paper. If you're married, I'm going to say it again. If you're married, you didn't put it on paper. And just because the grass looked greener on the other side, it does not mean that it's green. If you were to look into that quote that we use so often, and forgive me, I learned this very shortly, I'll say about a month ago. I read it and I said, whoa, I never knew this. And we always stop at the grass is greener on the other side. We go no further, but it's greener where you water it. I'm going to say it again. It's greener where you water it. So if you worried about somebody else's situation, what are you doing to make your situation better? And sometimes things that's good for you things that good to you might not be good for you. And that running is good, but it ain't good for me right now. My age has changed, my life, my body, things just don't move the way they used to. So yes, you might have some things that you might have to adjust for your life. But the question is, what life are you adjusting it for? Are you adjusting it for your flesh or are you adjusting it for Christ? If you're adjusting it for Christ, it's going to go together. The grass is always greener on the other side. Got to scratch that. The grass is always greener where what? Where you water it. The grass is always greener where you water it. So to my brothers and my sisters, whomever that may be applicable to, like I said, if not now, when it is, remember this. The grass is always greener where you water it. Take the time to plant. Take the time to be diligent in reaching the right soil. And most importantly, you got to get that power.
Go and marry an unfaithful wife. I was thinking when I was reading Hosea, the first time I had a chance to get to know Hosea, not know, but to learn of Hosea, I was in seminary and we were learning of him. And the thing that got me the most was his life. So if you're married, you learn about Hosea, your marriage might look a little bit different. See, Brother Hosea, for those who don't know, let me take a moment to tell you. Brother Hosea, the first time he speaks or hears from God speaks to Hosea. This is what he says to Hosea. He said, go and marry an unfaithful wife. Because as long as I was doing it my way, it wasn't working. But once I called upon the Lord, he gave me the resources that was needed. So we're sitting here trying to figure out how to get this tree off my tow truck, this tree off this car, and we're really overwhelmed. Cops is coming and things is happening. And then finally, I said, let me pray. I called upon the Lord, and he said, call y'all. So I make the phone call, come home. And everything I was doing, I was going right when I should have been going left. I was going up when I should have been going down. And him, just with this little chainsaw, he didn't bring a big one because he thought it was just a little problem. He didn't realize how big it was. But he brought a little chainsaw, 45 minutes to be out of there. Now, mind you, it was hours. But it took for me to take the time to pray and ask God for his assistance. Because as long as I was doing it my way, it wasn't working. But once I called upon the Lord, he gave me the resources that was needed. From that day to the day, I had to make a couple changes. Every action I made, I had to pray before I did it. Am I making sense to anybody? See, my problem was I was so used to doing my business my way. And I found myself, as long as I kept running my business my way, I was not able to sustain myself. From that day to the day, I had to make a couple changes. Every action I made, I had to pray before I did it. Am I making sense to anybody? All you got to do is call upon him. Whether you have a biological father or not, you still have a father. And if you have a father, all you got to do is call upon him.
If that blessed you, don't keep it to yourself. Like, follow, and share the word. And visit reverendbrian.today. We're just getting started.